Hello everyone, this is Darren here, and today I'm going to teach you about the topic of algebra. I personally feel that algebra is the most important topic at the secondary school level because it is one topic where there's so much marks weighted on it in the O-levels final paper. So much marks are dependent on your understanding of algebra, because from algebra, your understanding of algebra, they will be testing you on other topics, many other topics. So please stay with me here and really understand the basics and the foundation of algebra well. So in this video, I'm going to cover the topic of algebra and also specifically simplification. So algebra, there's many kinds of manipulations you can do with it. You can do simplification, expanding, and factorization. But in this video, I'll be showing you more about simplification. So without further ado, let's start. The first example I have is, let's say we have 3x plus 19x minus 13x. Okay, so in this one is a very simple example, the first one. It is a basic plus and then a minus. So what happens is, we take x as unknown, and the powers are all the same, so if this was square, we'll have a problem, but I'll explain to you that later. But since we realize that x and x and x, the terms are the same, and they're just simply x. In cases like this, when the x are the same, we can just add them, sum them up as easily as if they were numbers, and subtract as if they were just numbers. So now what happens? 3x plus 19x. This gives us 22x. 22x minus 13x gives us 9x. So the answer is 9x. Okay. This is one easy example. In the next example I have will be, in this example, think about it. The interesting thing is the brackets. Recall that in BODMAS, we always do the brackets first. So we look at the brackets, we do inside the brackets. Okay, minus 5, we can't simplify it any further, so we have actually looked at the brackets first. So minus 5 is fine, we can't simplify it further. So now we just have to look outside the brackets and around the brackets. Around the brackets, the only thing is the minus sign. So what happens in this case, if there's a minus sign outside the bracket, we have to multiply the minus sign with this minus 5. So this minus here, it's actually, it is akin to having a negative 1 here, invisible negative 1. So what happens is that this simply will become 2x plus 5. So we have simplified it as such. So 2x plus 5 would be the answer. Next, let's say we have algebra in the fraction form. What do we do? Okay, so half x minus 1/3 x. Again, we look at the power of the x. X is just x to the power of 1. And there is no, for example, there's no, if this was x and this was xy, we'll have a problem. But in this case, no, it's simple because both are just x. So if both terms are x, we can again just simplify simply by subtracting the 2 as if they were just numbers. So what happens? We find the common denominator and we do as such. So this will give us 1 over 6x. So the answer will be 1 over 6x. Simply for this example. Okay, let me move on to the fourth example. In the fourth example, we have minus 15x minus x plus 2x. So here, it's very similar to example number 2, but there's one additional term. So again, recall BODMAS. Do we do this term first, or this term first? Yes, we do the brackets first. So inside the brackets again, minus x, can we simplify it further? We cannot. So therefore, we look around the brackets. So you see that the negative is here. So we again multiply a negative 1 times negative x, which will give us a positive x. So minus 15x plus x plus 2x. So this whole thing would become this. And then this will just simplify to become minus 12x. So this is the answer for this example. Next. The fifth example. Make it slightly harder. This the example would be as such. Minus 9x minus 2 minus 3 plus 6x. Okay, so now there's 4 terms. So again, we look at the brackets first. So at this point, I would like to just say that every time in algebra where there are brackets, this is the number one cause for confusion, I would say. I've noticed my pupils, the number one most common mistake they make is when there are brackets in the question, how do we treat them? So especially pay attention to what I'm explaining when there are brackets in the question, because this is the number one way people get confused when they are solving for algebra. Okay, so now in this example, 2 brackets, we have to do these 2 first. So these 2 brackets are the ones. Can we simplify minus 3 further? No. Minus 6x further? No, because inside the brackets they are already simplified. But now outside the bracket, we can simplify this negative with this negative 3. So again, there's an invisible negative 1 here, and now this will just simply become 3. So this would be minus 9x minus 2 plus 3. Why does this become 3? Because negative 1 times negative 3 would give us 3. So now here, negative 6x plus a bracketed negative 6x. What would this be? Again, we just have to multiply. Assume as if that there is a positive 1 here, an invisible positive 1. So that's what's happening. So if invisible positive 1 multiplied by negative 6, this gives us just negative 6x. Therefore, this would simplify to minus. In this question, take note that these 2 do not have x, while these 2 have x. So we can only add and subtract the x's together if they have the same term. So in this case, there's no x, so we can't say minus 9x minus 2 becomes minus 11x. We can't, because this does not have an x, this does not have an x. Only this have an x. So now, let us group it. We should put the x's together and the numbers together. So minus 9x, minus 6x, minus 2 plus 3. We're grouping them together. So now we can see, this will just reduce to simply negative 15x plus 1. So this would be the final answer. Let's move on to something more challenging now. We have done mostly addition and subtraction up till now. What if we were to introduce multiplication or even division? Okay, so let's say multiplication. 14x multiplied by minus 2x. So now we have this multiplied by this, and this is a bracket. So maybe you might be confused. So pay special attention. This, again, first thing we do, bracket, right? We look at the bracket and we see that inside we cannot simplify any further. So we look outside. We see the outside has to be multiplied by 14x. So to do this, we realize that the x's both here are to the same power, x to the power of 1, x to the power of 1. We can join them together. So therefore, actually, even if they were different powers, we also could join them together, and I'll show you in the next example. Because this is not addition, this is not subtraction, this is multiplication. In multiplication, we can multiply them together. In addition, don't mind me, I'll just put a small example here. If we had 5x plus 6x squared. Example here, this would just be 5x plus 6x squared. We cannot simplify it any further. This is as simple as it gets. We cannot touch these two, we cannot join these two, because they have different powers. Okay? But okay, back to our example here. These two would just become simply multiplied. So we have to take the x multiplied by the x. This would give us x squared. And negative 2 multiplied by 14 would give us negative 28. So this is how we'll simplify this example. Okay, so I said that if they had different powers, we could also multiply them, but we couldn't add them together. So you see, now if I give this 14x and I give this negative 2x squared, we still can multiply them together. This is not if it's an addition or subtraction, we cannot, but if it's a multiplication or division, we can. So what happens in this case? We have to see that x multiplied by x squared, this will just give us x cubed. So minus 2 times 14 is going to give us minus 28. So if it was x squared, it would give us this answer instead. So x cubed. Because 2 plus 1, there's an invisible 1 here. So 2 plus 1 gives us 3. Okay. Now what if I used a division? How do we simplify a division question? So 14x divided by negative 2x. So this we can actually rewrite as such, right? So that it might be clearer for you to see. You can see that in this case, the x and x are a common factor. So we can just divide them out together. So it just becomes cancels out. So we cancel them out both. And this will give us minus 7. So this will be the answer in this case. Finally, one last example. Say we have an open bracket, negative 2x plus 5x close times x. So now, recall again, brackets first. So what's inside the bracket now? Negative 2x plus 5x. Can we simplify it further? Actually, we could. So we have to simplify the inside of the bracket first before we go outside the bracket. So this will just give us minus 2x plus 5x. They are at the same power. They are the same term. We can join them together. This would give us 3x times x. So 3x times x. Recall earlier? X times x gives us x squared. So therefore, this will just simply be 3x squared. I hope you learned something today, and I hope algebra doesn't confuse you too much. And if it does, don't worry. It confused me greatly when I just started to. I hope that you just persevere through, pay attention, don't give up. I hope that you learned something from the video, and if you did like the video, if you did learn something from the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.